Here.
Councilmember Kaplan?
Here.
Councilmember Laredo?
Here.
Vice Mayor London? Councilmember McCormick? Councilmember Moss?
Here.
Councilmember Segurola?
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, we do have a quorum. Please
Yeah,
rise for the Pledge of
stand for
Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Mr. Mayor's public comments.
Right. We've got quite a number of people signed up. If you are in one of the overflow rooms and you haven't already signed up, please fill out a card now and bring it over. We will also be taking people via Zoom. And I assume Pete, if you could read the instructions right now, and then we will also do so at the end of when we have our in-person speakers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you watching the meeting on Channel 77 on Comcast, on Channel 99 on AT&T UVerse, or streaming live via our website, if you would like to speak during public comments, please call 305-365-7569 or 312-626-6799, then enter the meeting ID number 231-627-8415, followed by pound. There is no participant ID. Press pound again. Then press *9, which will place you in the public comments queue. When it is your turn, you will be called upon by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. If you have joined the meeting through the Zoom app and wish to speak, please press the raise your hand button.
Okay. And if you're having a tough time and you know my cell phone, just text my cell phone and I'll and we'll deal with the issues. I know we had some issues last meeting and I would prefer not to have them happen again. Yes. Okay. And if we could mute the people. All righty. Yeah, if everybody could please mute their Zoom if they're on Zoom, or Pete, if you can take care of that, or Mike, if you can take care of that, please. All right. The first speakers are Fausto Gomez and Gene Stearns. Are you speaking together? Is that correct? Yes, sir. Okay. And you'll have 6 minutes altogether.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Council. Fausto Gomez, 765 Crandon Boulevard, Penthouse 10, Key Biscayne, Florida, 33149.
Gene Stearns, 250 K Florida Drive, Key Biscayne.
So, Gene and I have been working closely together on this Rickenbacker RFP, and I'm glad to say that we agree on most everything together. And we're here this evening to ask you, and I'll sort of take first and then Gene will take, to ask you, as we have said in the past, to pass a resolution to officially request Miami-Dade County to rescind the current RFP. Number one. Number two, time is short to list the many deficiencies that the RFP currently has and the many deficiencies in the process that it has. Let us just simply say that no number of amendments will correct it to a satisfactory position for Key Biscayne. Gene will now discuss the second steps, which I think are equally crucial to the first steps. Gene.
Thank you, Fausto. And this is, by the way, perhaps some of the most important issues this community will ever face. And it's important, I believe, to understand that our role here should not be parochial. Because, and by the way, no matter what we say over the other side of the bridge, they're going to think it is. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that people who live on Key Biscayne did so because they love the outdoors. They love public land. They've financed Village Green and enjoy the thousands of people who enjoy it, and Cape Florida State Park, and to the extent they're able, Crandon Park. And to some degree, we are stewards for those lands that are enjoyed by all of the people of Dade County. And the issue is whether there's going to be safe, efficient access and egress to public lands. Now, the process that's been initiated which started initially for years ago by a very decent guy, by the way. Bernard Ziskovich is a very decent guy. He's very engaging. He's very highly motivated. He cares deeply about this community. He's not our enemy. I don't agree with a lot of his ideas, but he's always been willing to open his door to listen and talk and think it through. But the problem is the process in which he is engaged and the county is engaged is fundamentally a secret one. It was secret from March until June, where in connection with the Parks Department, a group of people who are motivated to do the Lord's work, I'm sure, worked together to create a plan. That plan then went to the county commission, which initiated the RFP process, which without the plan even coming back to the county commission for approval, resulted in an RFP that reads like a sole source bid. It defines in intricate detail what people are supposed to bid to and designs a system which is going to take cyclists from the beginning of the causeway to the end of Bear Cut Bridge, whereupon they will find a 6-foot green strip inches next to a major road system, with no plan whatsoever to do with them when they get to Crandon Park. Now, if the county goes forward with this, there will be another secret process that will last a very long time while bidders, if bidders show up, work with the county to present their plans, and those plans, which will then be considered in secret. What they're saying is in secret. Public won't know about it. And the thousands of interests involved in this community will be shut out of the most important project that affects not just us, but folks in Hialeah that come to Cape Florida State Park every weekend or every holiday. It's their land, their park. And it's hard to understand, unless you've lived here, as I have all these years, what it's like to recreate the bridge on the Rickenbacker Causeway. When you create signalized intersections on Virginia Key, you recreate the same traffic conditions that we've lived with. Now, by the way, we shouldn't just say no, but we should say what they should do. What they should do is begin an RFP to select a design team that should work diligently, that selection process, and that design team should work in a public setting with all the constituencies involved to create a plan that begins at the beginning of the causeway and runs through the end of Crandon Park. It doesn't end at Crandon Park, it runs to the end of Crandon Park. Because if you're going to invite thousands of cyclists, they have to have a place to go. And ignoring that is ignoring reality. And so that once there's a plan that comes through this process, then we can talk about how to pay for it, who's going to own it, who's going to control it, and then. But if you think we heard on Wednesday night, and I apologize, by the way, for being angry, but I think there was justification for anger, perhaps not well expressed, which is to say this. If you schedule a meeting to say, I want to hear what the people of Key Biscayne have to say, and in the meeting you simply tell us what they want us to hear, and what they want us to hear is completely inconsistent with what we know, having read the documents, the truth is, that's a problem. But I want to leave the perfect example to me was the discussion by the bridge. The discussion was the bridges are fine. They're perfectly okay. It's just cost-benefit analysis and replacing them. And I got angry and said, what are you talking about? We have a report in 2013 that says the Bear Cut Bridge will not survive a Category 2 storm. And what did the bridge engineer say right there in front of God and everybody? You're not supposed to have that report.
Where'd you get that?
Okay? Now, of all that, what does that tell you? He told an untruth. He knew it was untrue. He didn't think we would know it was untrue. And his anger was, we knew he didn't say the truth. And he's mad at us. Okay? Now, so it's clear, we were supposed to have that report. This village council made an agreement with the county in connection with putting a top on the old foundation that they would do that report and share it with us. And when they did and shared it with us, they then said, oh, not to worry, we're starting the new bridge immediately. So, last point, Mr. Mayor. What they say is trust the process. Trust us. I don't.
Fair enough. Fausto, you have one last point?
Let me just add something, Mr. Mayor. It is important, what Gene just outlined is very important, because then we, in a participatory process, are going to help establish the parameters for the redevelopment of the Rickenbacker Causeway. And right now, we're completely shut out. I ask you to pass a resolution officially asking the county to rescind it, and then as a solution for us to be involved, open, transparent, and establish the parameters for redevelopment. Thank you to all.
Thank you. Ann Tainter, you're not going to get 6 minutes, Ann, but you're more succinct and to the point, Ann, so we're good.
Ann Tainter, 170 Ocean Lane Drive. This is in the form of a question, comment. In reference to the Barrel Cut Bridge and what was said, they said that they inspect it on a regular basis. I want to know, do they send divers down there at low tide to look at the bottom to see what the bottom looks like or the pilings look like? I don't think so. And I think that it would be very beneficial for the council to hire their own private inspectors along with divers. Thank you.
Thank you. Luis, Councilmember De La Cruz.
Luis De La Cruz, 640 Allendale. Good to see you all again.
It's not your birthday again, is it?
So, I agree with 100% with what Gene and Fausto just finished talking about. And it's really incredible that this one issue has brought together this deeply divided island, because everybody who's here, I think, and everybody who's listening is behind this particular issue. And to see Fausto Gomez and Gene Stearns talking together at the same lectern, that is something that I to behold. So I can't stress how much. There's a saying in Spanish, no hay mal que por bien no venga. I'll let Ambassador Loredo tell you what that is afterwards. But basically, it says that there's no bad that for good doesn't come. That's more or less what it says. We need to get all together on this. We are all together on this. For the first time in the last 3 or 4 years, this is one issue that every single person, I think, that I've spoken to in the village of Key Biscayne is behind. We need to get together. We need to very forcefully and very respectfully request the Miami-Dade Commission to withdraw the RFP and to start over with a large enough room where every stakeholder has a seat and not a secret process. I can't, I just can't imagine that we can't do it that way. That's the way this democracy is, as much as I can see it. So hopefully by the end of this meeting, you all will make that determination and very forcefully and very respectfully come to them and ask them to withdraw their RFP and start over. Thank you.
Thank you. Miguel Trian? I apologize if I'm mispronouncing.
My name is Miguel Tria. I am 600 Great Tree Drive, Key Biscayne. And this is basically for information purposes. I want to know if what we have seen up to now indicates that this is a privatization project. A project that is going to be privatized. And I think the important thing and the thing that we are requesting is that Mr. Mayor, we have to find out how much is it that the income is from the tolls. Have an idea also of the contribution of Key Biscayne to the county compared to what we have been for many years. I know that our growth has been substantial, so there has to be some idea of what this is. And I think that will give you an idea of the whole concept of the privatization for this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Tony Camejo.
Tony Cameo, 151 Crandon Boulevard. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I also agree with what Fausto and Gene Stearns have said. This issue is precisely, this kind of issue is precisely why we incorporate it, to have the support and the unifying force of a village government to protect the interests of all the citizens of Key Biscayne. But it even goes beyond that because, as has been mentioned, we have a state park at the end of the road and we have a county park. We have over 1 million people that enjoy Key Biscayne for their recreation. So it even becomes more important that we're involved in this process. So I hope that you will take a strong stand to make sure that this process comes to a halt and it's rethought and opened in a different way, the way it was described by Gene Stearns and Fausto Gomez. The other thing I'd like the council to consider is now that we have a new police chief, that we revisit the idea of dealing with the traffic that we have coming in and out of Key Biscayne. Since Dade County has not been able to install the smart lights that we requested over 4 years ago, that we use our local police force at Crandon, at the intersection of Key Colony and Crandon Boulevard, and at Harbor Drive, which are the key bottlenecks of all the traffic, to make sure that the traffic is properly coordinated during rush hours, both it coming into the island and going out of the island, especially during school hours, to remove the huge bottlenecks that we have, especially at Key Colony. So I would hope that you would consider that, which is part of all of the issues that we're talking about on Rickenbacker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ruth Rosenwasser.
Hello, Ruth Rosenwasser, Ocean Club, Key Biscayne. I read that the art of taxation is plucking the goose and getting the least amount of hissing. Well, I think we geese on Key Biscayne have been continually getting plucked. We pay an enormous amount of taxes into Miami-Dade, some of which comes back to us here on the Key. But we're not, what are we getting? We got Ultra, and now we're going to get Disneyland on the Rickenbacker. What, if the bridge needs to be fixed, fix the bridge. What is all this nonsense about recreational facilities and everything? It seems like it's a land grab, just like the land grabs that are going on all around Miami that are making rentals and real estate so inaccessible to so many people. So I really think that we taxpayers here on Key Biscayne have to start hissing and complaining. And I think that it's incumbent upon you, all of you, as our elected officials, to speak up for us and to speak up to Miami-Dade. I mean, now they want to get their hands on our little library that nobody is complaining about, but somebody wants to make it bigger and better. We don't need bigger and better. Neither does the Rickenbacker Causeway have to be bigger and better. If cyclists would go single file instead of 2 and 3 abreast, they wouldn't be getting hit by cars. I mean, there's a certain amount of responsibility that goes with that. So, by the way, I want to say something about the police. I noticed that they're out in force and enforcing some of the cyclists who don't stop on the red lights and go in the wrong directions on the streets. So good for them. But I really feel that Key Biscayne should start hissing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Jennifer Buttrick.
Jennifer Buttrick, 180 Cape Florida Drive. First of all, thank you for your service on the council. I know you've had a lot of meetings lately with the budget and this issue, and it's incredibly time consuming. You all are volunteers, and it's much, much appreciated. You know, I was at the county meeting last week, and I was sort of appalled by the county's presentation. Alex Munoz kept on repeating, trust the process. But the problem here is the process. This is what the county has embarked upon, a fundamentally flawed process that cannot be fixed by amending the RFP. It is unfixable. It was a process that was done entirely in secret. The design was done in secret, and the funding was done in secret. Major transportation infrastructure should not be designed and funded in secret, nor should a major causeway be privatized without coming to a conclusion publicly that that is the best option. Maybe it is the best option, but we don't know that because the discussion and the debate has not occurred in a public forum. And, you know, I see a lot of people going, you know, no Plan Z, no Plan Z. I'm not anti-Plan Z. I want to find the best plan. Maybe an amended Plan Z is the best plan, but the only way that we will learn that and know that is if it is all discussed in the open. And there is a design process that engages all constituents of Miami-Dade County. This is not about just Key Biscayne. This is about our entire community. Our best park resources are here on Key Biscayne. My parents decided that they wanted to move to Key Biscayne when they were in high school and came here when they were in Gables High, and they did. And they raised their 3 children here. But access to Key Biscayne is important for the entire community. Don't make it just about us. And I don't have a problem with making it a spectacular causeway that makes it safe for bikes and for pedestrians. That should be a goal. Those are valid goals. But the RFP doesn't talk about goals. The RFP discusses very, very specific design parameters. And by the way, if you don't follow those design parameters, then your bid can be excluded. So it is very, very limiting. So the problem here is the process. Now, I know that we have to work with Miami-Dade County. And I fundamentally believe that Miami-Dade County didn't quite realize what they were getting themselves into. And if we come out strongly here, we'll be doing them a favor. Because at the end of the day, the project is going to get done, and it's going to be better. Okay, not incorporating a redesign of Crandon Park while we talk about Bear Cut and the causeway would be moronic. We have, you know, what did they say? They paved Paradise and put on a parking lot? That's what Crandon Park is. Let's fix it.
Thank you. Next, Louisa Conway.
Good evening, Council. First of all, thank you very much for holding this special. Louisa Conway, 151 Crandon. Thank you very much for holding this special meeting tonight. I know that you guys have a very big decision this evening, and I really hope that you will listen to everyone and pass this resolution that can be communicated on our behalf to the Miami-Dade County. After watching that meeting, it really does become apparent that Key Biscayne really does need to speak up for itself. And I think last Wednesday was a great display of that. It was a tough meeting. I appreciated Raquel Regalado coming out and trying to speak with us and trying to explain the RFP, but it became really indicative that we were put into a cone of silence. And that's not going to work when you're paying the county $38 million a year. So I really hope that part of what we do here is, besides just communicating that we are opposed to this RFP, is to make sure that we do put forth, we need new bridges, we need the roads elevated, and more importantly, we need to be able to get on and off the island safely. And one thing I would ask all of you, because I know you have a lot in front of you, Mast Academy, please try to make that safer for us. I heard Commissioner Regalado said that she would look to put a bridge in, but it's a real problem. And I want to thank Key Biscayne Police for, in the mornings, being out there and trying to help us get to school. but it's a real safety hazard. It's like Mad Max on that road in trying to go and drop our kids off. So when you're negotiating with the county and the Board of Commissioners, I really must ask you all to think about how we can get our students as well into Mast Academy safely. And if they could do something about the cyclists. I have nothing against cyclists, but none of us that are driving in the morning to drop our kids off, it's scary. You don't want to hit a cyclist. So we really ask that you all think about that this evening, and thank you very much. And I'm very proud of everyone in Key Biscayne that came out last Wednesday and spoke up. And we're going to need everyone when the Board of Commissioners schedules another meeting. And to the village and to Manager Williamson, please communicate what you're doing, engage us. We're happy to come and support our village and our council, especially to back up the resolution they're probably most likely going to pass this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so for anybody who's over in one of the spillover rooms, if you want to speak, please come over now with your paper. I've got Gustavo Menendez Bernales. There's Gustavo.
Gustavo Menendez, 260 Battenwood Drive, Key Biscayne. Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for having this opportunity. I have no doubt, I agree with everything that was said here, and I have no doubt there is no one person in Key Biscayne that is not opposing this. And so the entire community is united through this, and there is no doubt that we have to stop the privatization and the process. So my willing to speak here is to make a proposal for Key Biscayne to have a more proactive approach to this. Beyond the suspension or the elimination of the privatization, I think we should take this seriously. This is probably the most important issue that we have in our community. So my proposal is to create a task force that will be dealing with this and making recommendations and also taking charge of this. And the task force should be composed of a finance component, also a specialist component in terms of public works, and also I think a component of representation of the different communities and different bodies that are in Key Biscayne, including the schools and the parishes and everybody else. So my proposal is to be proactive instead of reactive. I think we were caught by surprise with this, and I think we don't need to let this happen again, because we can oppose this and stop it, but if we don't really work on this, we will have the same situation in a few more months. So my proposal is let's be proactive, and if we need to reallocate resources from other projects that we have in Key Biscayne, like the Key Biscayne Vision or some other projects that we have, let's do that, because there is no more relevant issue for the entire community than this one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so now I'll open it. Madam Clerk, if you would repeat the directions for folks on Zoom who want to speak.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you watching the meeting on Channel 77 on Comcast, on Channel 99 on AT&T UVerse, or streaming live via our website, if you would like to speak during public comments, please call 305-365-7569 or 312-626-6799, then enter the meeting ID number 231-627-8415, followed by pound. There is no participant ID. Press pound again. Then press star 9, which will place you in the public comments queue. When it is your turn, you will be called upon by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. If you have joined the meeting through the Zoom app and wish to speak, please press the raise your hand button.
Mike, do we have anybody? Oh, sorry, I turned my mic on. Mike, do we have anybody out there signed up to speak in Zoom land?
Yes.
Yes, I see some people. I can't hear you, Mike.
Mr. Mayor, I do have...
Are you in charge of, I'm sorry, are you or Mike going to open it up?
Yes. I do have one caller. The name is Pablo.
Okay. You want to call on that person?
Pablo, you are live.
Good afternoon, Council.
Please state your name, address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Sure. Pablo Torres.
Go ahead.
1111 Cranton Boulevard. Apartment number C as in Charlie. 602.
Okay, go ahead.
Council, definitely. I want to recommend that you guys oppose this RFP for the survivability of the village. We need to cancel it and start all over and involve all the major stakeholders. The county does not have our best interest, and we need to all get together and make sure we go in one in that direction. I want to thank you for your time and listening to me.
Thank you. Next caller.
The next caller with the telephone number ending in 906.
Can unmute yourself.
You need to press *6 on your telephone. Telephone number ending in 906. Please press *6 now on your telephone. You are live.
Good evening. Yes, good evening. Michelle Perez, 798 Crandall Boulevard. We are here all together on this. We all know this is a disaster. This is huge. We are all together discussing what will not only affect our lives, but will kill our island. We kill what we have planted for 30 years. What I suggest to you, the council, is that you hire someone tomorrow, well paid, to follow every detail, every move, everything that they come to do about this RFP. For someone to show up every day to just give them a hard time, to find out, to speak against this RFP every meeting, every time, and just communicating to the council every single day, whatever move happens. Because all of you, you have your life, you have your job, you have your work. Also, the RFP is changing by removing the Venetian Causeway, as we all know. Why they are removing it? They're removing it because the Venetian Causeway doesn't offer anything. It's just one road. That's it. But Rickenbacker Causeway is loaded with many areas that is going to bring money to whoever take over the Rickenbacker. So let's work on this together. I thank you for your time. I know that you are in favor also to oppose this, and all Key Biscayne is behind you. Please hire somebody with that good money, because this is one of the biggest things that we are confronting right now, like Gina Stern said. Thank you, and we are supporting you. We are with you. So just kill this. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else signed up on Zoom?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Is there anybody in the spillover rooms? Sorry, is there somebody who raised their hand wanted to speak? Okay. Does anybody want to speak? Otherwise, I'm going to close public comments. I want to make sure everybody has the chance. Michelle called in, so that's good news. That means people are able to dial in. All right, I'm seeing nobody speaking. I'm going to close public comments. I mean, obviously, if somebody comes up at the last minute, then we'll allow that person to speak. Next item.
The next item, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, regarding Miami-Dade County Request for Proposal, RFP number 01982, entitled Develop, Maintain, and Operate the Rickenbacker and Venetian Causeways and Associated Recreational Elements, requesting that the Miami-Dade County Board of County Commissioners and or the Miami-Dade County Mayor blank.
Move.
Second.
Providing for transmission and providing for an effective date.
So I'm going to, let's start this off because otherwise we would be here all night. I mean, is there anybody on this council who is not in favor of us pushing a resolution for them to stop this RFP at this time, to pull it all the way back and to start over?
I think, as everyone has said, this process is so inappropriate and so flawed. I think we've coalesced unanimously about doing exactly this.
So the answer is no.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Councilmember Segurola would like to speak.
Yeah, I see him, but can you hear Councilmember Segurola? Are you in favor of the resolution? I'm assuming you are, but I want your nod or.
Not a language.
Well, the resolution as being discussed actually has more than one element.
Well, yeah,
one part of
that's where I want to start off. Are you in favor of a resolution, as part of this resolution, it being that we want this RFP canceled and start over, and the county commissioners? Okay, so that's off the. So we know where we are now. We get into the brass tacks of what do we want to see as the next step after that.
I think we need to fill in the blank.
Well, that's right, and that's where we are. Who wants to? Yeah, Councilmember Laredo.
All right. Well, this has been a great hearing. Thank you, all of you, council members, the mayor, for calling it. I requested it last weekend so that we can get off the dime and get to work. Enough time. It's gone by. A lot of meetings, a lot of conversations, a lot of people who express ideas, et cetera, et cetera. We have, of course, a responsibility to act and act now. It is funny that the mayor of Dade County yesterday in her meeting said that the reason she had called the meeting in such short notice is because, we were meeting. So for the first time, by calling this meeting, we are going to be in a very constructive and professional way, be proactive. Up to now, we've been reactive. But let me just say, first of all, that, and I think it bridges what a lot of the people here have spoken to, we can be this way without being in any way disrespectful or unthankful for the people, and particularly the county commission. The mayor, our own Commissioner Raquel Regalado, the chairman, Jose Pepe Diaz, the entire 13-member board, his chief administrator, Jimmy Morales. And by the way, in parentheses, we all should give a thank, if they're listening, to their chief of police, Alfredo Ramirez, who is doing an extraordinary job, chief, of finally having a little bit of control with help coordinating with our guys in stopping the Rickenbacker Raceway. Your presence is all over, and it's having a chilling effect on all those speedsters. Now, I always say that a flip side of so-called complicated, and there's a lot of convoluted words, and if you go to these hearings, you go crazy. Don't think that you're not smart. They're just trying to confuse you with language. The flip side of complication, I learned a long time ago, is simplicity. And therefore, when I asked for your consideration for a meeting, I also submitted to you the following language, which maybe we can discuss. And it's tries to bridge, which is what we need. First of all, the word clear and in plain English, we want you to rescind this program, not to amend it, not to postpone, and begin, I quote, a new collaborative project with the shareholders and citizens to address this infrastructure project in full transparent process with broad and early participation. So if it's a motion, I would move this or whatever you want to amend to insert in this thing, and we should be out of here in 15 minutes, I think. I don't think it would serve us well moving forward to get into debates about other ideas. This is a public meeting. We are going in a constructive engagement with the county. We are reflecting what is clearly a consensus of a process that at nobody's fault is flawed, but it is flawed. And the only way to, you cannot Band-Aid something that is not right. And so rather than waste any time tonight or get ourselves into trouble, I would move my language, or if any friendly amendments thereof, so that we can just move on. And
so could you restate, are you taking down the language? Could you please
clarify?
It's in his email.
And I give you all a copy.
Yeah, do you have copies?
Yes, and I sent it to you in the email.
Yeah, I didn't bring any emails. I apologize for. I brought my notes and
the operating.
Yeah, I see him. He's next.
The operating language, because the rest is of course rescind, which is clear, not ambiguous, and it's actually English. And to begin a new process, a new collaborative project with the stakeholders and citizens to address this infrastructure project in a full and transparent process with broad and early participation. It bridges all our concerns without putting any blame on anybody. We want to start in good faith anew. To do anything else at this stage will not help. And I'm glad that the two speakers at the beginning made the point. I don't want to repeat it, but I want to make sure that we're doing this for the citizens of Key Biscayne, but really we are serving the people of Metro-Dade as well.
Correct.
Because we have a reputation of carrying out that. This affects I was all day today on around that area, Westwood, not the famous new Westwood, but 58th Street and all that thing in the city of Miami. All those low and middle class people who come to our island, not our village, to enjoy the parks. It's also people that we're representing. They do not want to have their weekend when they work very hard disrupted, the rates to go up, et cetera, et cetera. So it's important for us citizens, so sometimes our own, including ourselves, worst enemies by a little bit of streak of arrogance, that I think that we really are doing a lot for the rest of the people of Metro-Dade who use our island. And I think that then we should just move clearly forward for the formal presentations of the board, who meets next Tuesday.
Councilmember Segurola.
Well, I just want to say I am glad to see that we're all finally on the same page. I wish my motion a month ago would have been seconded so we would have had a month head start on this, or that we would have gotten the ball rolling 2 months ago when I first brought it up. But at least now we're all on the same page, better late than never. Now, with regard to the proposed language that Councilmember Laredo just stated, I don't really have a problem with it, but I think that if we're going to do this, we should be bold. If we're going to tell the county what we really want, we need to tell them that they should turn over, give Key Biscayne first priority in coming up with a plan to take over management of the causeway. And killing this process, which is rotten from the inception, and has been said, there's no way of putting enough lipstick on a pig to make this acceptable, is definitely step number one, but we should take step number two and tell them what we want right now. And that is, I have full faith that over very few short months, Key Biscayne can find partners to take over the management of the causeway for the benefit of every single resident and visitor to Miami-Dade County.
Councilmember Moss?
Yeah, I'm in support with what Councilmember Laredo has given us. I think we should go ahead and move forward on that. I think that we should clarify this idea of us being a bidder, because I know this has come up many times with the county, and I think we should make a very clear statement where this council stands on that item. I will tell you, I am not interested in becoming a bidder in this current process, and I would make a motion that we would make that statement now, so that, because we're having communication problems constantly with the county because of this this issue.
Could I friendly amendment it and say it be a whereas? Oh, okay, go ahead. I would want it to be a whereas. I wouldn't necessarily want it to be here, but explain your
whereas. I said that I think we have to be very clear to take a stance on whether we want to be or don't want to be a bidder in this current process that has been put on the table. And I think that I'm not interested in being a bidder at all. I don't think the village should be a bidder. Right. And I think that we should put that in what the mayor said, put it in as a whereas, so that we can keep communications open between us and the county.
One of the concerns has been in trying to have communications with staff at the county and some of the commissioners, is their concern that because because we're considering being a bidder on this RFP, that they won't talk to us. And so it's been a little frustrating for our staff, for ourselves, with some commissioners and staff to not be able to communicate. And I think that's something. So I would second that motion as far as a whereas clause. Vice Mayor?
To follow up on what Brett's saying, and I was for being a bidder, I was for basically putting together a group to take over the causeway. I think we have to do that because otherwise they said, well, fine, we'll give you an extension of time to bid on this particular project. And we really have no interest in bidding on the project the way it is delineated now. So I'm 100% with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Kaplan. And then
two things. Can I see your language? Number one.
Didn't you give her?
They probably went all the way around.
I'm sorry.
I wouldn't want to do conflate too many things. I agree with bottom line is Brett's position and the reasons for it. I think it's not a good tactic to throw too much into this. The only thing I wanted to see whether there was any interest in is to explain in a summary way why we take this position.
That I wanted to get into whereases as well. I agree with you. I think there's some import in us stating why we've come to this conclusion as a community.
Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead.
Do you have something, Frank?
Well, I think we've discussed at great length the reasons, and we can't replicate all the analysis and not bog this thing down. But I think basically it's possible that it's enough to simply say that the process is, and the RFP too, are just utterly unsuitable for this project or this type of project. And essentially, words to this effect, there is no way to fix this.
Right. We don't see a way forward in terms of amending. And they've already said, I mean, the chair, Diaz, was very, very specific yesterday in that he, other than minor tweaks, he was not interested in amending the RFP really in any meaningful way, which I think for me was there's no going forward with this RFP.
We certainly have high clarity now.
Right. Councilmember McCormick?
The only thing, Frank, that I would add to what you just said about adding a whereas, I think one of the things that we heard tonight and that we all feel, I imagine, I know I do, I think we all feel that while we have a problem with this process and we think that it could be done much better and it could end up with a much better result for everyone in Miami-Dade County, I think that how we word the whereas that you're suggesting is going to be very important. Yes. Because I don't want it to come across as a, an admonishment or this is an observation. And as I think Mrs. Buttrick said, us asking them to redo this process is in effect doing a favor for all of Miami-Dade County.
I like that theme a lot, that it's not just about us. This morning at a Sunshine couple of minutes, we had an observation that it is not only unnecessary, but tactically ill-advised to attack Chairman Diaz's ordinance. It's not necessary to do that, but it is pertinent that that ordinance and that process does not belong for this type of project.
Yeah, this project it's unsuited, I think is the right way. This project, the scope of this, the Rickenbacker, it's unsuited for this this unsolicited bid.
So, less rather than more, but to speak to our rationale as opposed to not speaking to it at all and just coming up with a conclusion without any explanation seems worthy of our consideration. Then as Allison points out, the wording is critical.
And I would also ask, the rescinding the RFP is one of the points here, restarting a public process with key stakeholders and asking for Key Biscayne with Key Biscayne to be one of the stakeholders. I would want to make that ask. And I would also ask, and I don't know how gritty we want to be in terms of the language in this RFP, but I think we'd like to request that they employ people to start the design process and take our input and move forward in that way with stakeholder input. because I think, I also don't want this to be, I'm sorry, I took your turn, but I feel, I want to make sure, we got to understand, I appreciate that this is finally an issue for them. I mean, I don't want, back in April of 2019, I mentioned to council that I wanted to get some funding for, to put our own concept together so that if an unsolicited bid came, we would be ready we knew what we wanted for the community. Unfortunately, at that time, we weren't there, and then COVID got in the way, and so we've sort of we're sitting on this. But now I think it's great that the Rickenbacker and Bearcut Bridge are in the forefront of the county's mind. So let's keep the positive angles of this moving forward. Let's work with the county. Certainly, we don't want this RFP to be the one governing. We want to go back and we want to start over with all the stakeholders involved. And that's the way I think we should be moving. Vice Mayor, you had some comments?
I think Luis covers it when he talks about all stakeholders. Okay. I think also he keeps it simple, and we're talking about everybody, not just Key Biscayne, we all talked about. So at this point in time, I think we keep it simple. We don't have too much in there. They know where we're coming from. And basically, they're either going to listen to us or they're not listening to us. If they're not going to listen to us, we have to figure out another solution to this thing, another plan of attack. But at this point in time, I think we keep it simple. I think it's well written, and we move forward. I would call for a.
I have to fit this within the resolution as it's written.
Right.
You want to try this?
The problem is, Councilor, and I know that you had to do a resolution, and you fit it. But the bottom line is, our only responsibility is to make a policy, and you put it in the words, or were inserted here.
You're the words.
There are two places where it seems like it's inserted. This, if I may, I work on this hard. Benefit of my experience in the private business sector and also in international relations. And I'm very result-oriented, and to get results, you have to be smart. And sometimes in these things, brevity is a virtue. And those were everything that you said is covered in my very three sentences. You may want, if you want to say, after careful consideration, so that because otherwise this is going to be too long. The bottom line is they need to know by Tuesday that we are unanimous, hopefully, on saying please rescind this and start a new process with all the words that I use, which is collaborative, transparency, broad and early participation, which takes care of a lot of the things the mayor you were saying, bring people in. All of those are implied. But if you start writing, we're going to have a 10-page document, and we're going to lose the punch. Okay. And it's not a punch. It's not a punch. I meant because we don't want to go punch him. We want to work with him, and in this case, the smart thing to do is to pass it as this, and or saying, if you want, after careful consideration, which implies that we have listened, and we have. The reason I asked for the meeting is we sat. The mayor's been in a lot of meetings and everything else, and we've taken in all the information, and as elected representative and as representative, we have a consensus in our community, and it's time we officially make it. So from tonight forward, there's going to be an official policy and then we'll negotiate. But tonight is not the night.
Understood.
To either go too long or to talk too long. So I agree with what Kaplan is saying. I was thinking
one friendly amendment, just grammarly speaking.
Oh yeah.
And to begin a new collaborative project, not collaboratively. I think you were trying to say to begin collaboratively a new project, or to begin a new collaborative project. I would just say that.
I remember that I used to always get C in English in school.
You want to put the word immediately in on the rescission. You don't need to redefine the title of the RFP because it's already stated.
Right.
The point about collaborative, and I would add the word public process, because all that's missing is a public process. And then the stakeholders, and I think you don't need to repeat citizens. Citizens are stakeholders. And to address this infrastructure project, period. It's fine.
Yeah.
And we already talked about, you can add the word careful consideration.
Yeah, after careful, I like that. After careful consideration.
We're not doing this because.
Good. I'm not.
You spend a lot of time with all of us.
After careful consideration, the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, officially requests the Mayor of Miami-Dade County and the Board of County Commissioners to rescind RFP and to begin a new collaborative public project.
I would say
new collaborative project with all stakeholders and stakeholders.
It's not a project; it's a process.
Process.
A collaborative public process.
Collaborative public process. And again, are you okay with these amendments, Council Member? Process with all stakeholders
to address this infrastructure project.
This infrastructure project in a full and transparent.
Or you want to do this: infrastructure improvements and related goals for the Rickenbacker Causeway.
Can you please
repeat that? They know that. That's
because that includes, it's financing, it's management. It's the oversight, it's the perpetual stewardship of a private operator potentially.
Yeah, but are we getting, to Councilmember Laredo's point, are we getting into the weeds a little bit? Our message is we want this project. That can be part of the collaborative process.
I'd leave it at infrastructure project.
I think that's sufficient. I think he's hit it with that. In a full and transparent public process with broad and early participation.
And then what do you want to do about the rationale? The rationale is that it's simply unsuitable.
Whereas, yes, I would put, whereas is uniquely affected, whereas and then I would say it would be. Go ahead.
Don't worry about where to put it.
Okay. Well, I was thinking right after where something to the effect of whereas the village respectfully believes that the unsolicited bid process is inapplicable or unsuited to the Rickenbacker Causeway.
Yes.
I think that would be summit. That would
and maybe not susceptible of correction.
And not susceptible, not able to be corrected.
This whole premise that just can be fixed by amendment, we've learned is
it cannot be fixed. They've absolutely stated it will not be fixed.
Is Louis accepting your amendments?
I don't know. That's what I was going to ask him, but I want to be clear on that.
I was trying to go into focus, and we're all over the place. I think
no, we're not. I think
this is the beginning of the process.
But we're not.
I think all good ideas. I just don't know tonight that. Okay.
I think we're there. I think
we're there on that. The only question is whether we're going to have a rationalization that's longer than the word unsuitable.
I agree with you. I don't think we need a rationalization that's too long. I think you want to see unsuited or inapplicable. I think inapplicable is more neutral, but you tell me.
I think unsuitable is more
forceful.
More forceful.
And then I would like. Commissioner, Councilmember Moss's, I would like a whereas in there, whereas the village has no intent of becoming a bidder on the current RFP process. Is RFP a defined term?
Yes, and that's important.
Yeah.
That amendment, I think it's important.
On the RFP? Okay.
I'm good.
And Mr. Attorney, just one last word on the fourth whereas at the bottom. Why do you single out Raquel Regalado? They're all single-member district people. She has been a lead in being a bridge, but other commissioners also have participated.
Well, but really, it's been her show.
I'm happy to take it out. I was
I'm asking you.
Yeah, I was just trying to show that the commissioner held a public meeting.
Yeah, she's been working with us.
Okay.
I think that's a positive.
Okay, so it's a positive thing. Okay, perfect, because it is positive.
I think it's positive.
You may not agree with her, but she's devoted an awful lot of time.
The fact is, what the mayor, as you said, what the mayor did yesterday, what Commissioner Regalado has done, they're listening to us. And they heard us last Wednesday. They heard this community. They understand. And the difficulty is now you're running up against, as we heard yesterday, you're running up against the process. And I think, I'm hoping we can get the votes on the board. I think that's the next step. Yeah. But let's move this. Are you clear?
Would you want me to just add the mayor to that same whereas since she held a public meeting yesterday?
Yes,
absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. And also, to be honest with you, you need to single out, as I was going, Chairman Diaz.
You do, because
he was there yesterday and he participated. And I think it was great because I now know what he's thinking.
Right.
Okay. I'll add him also for his attendance to the public meeting.
All right.
So, and the important thing is to get this published tomorrow.
Well, yeah, we got to sign it and get it over. So
All right, you call the
Madam
question.
Clerk, wait,
I
Madam
read
Clerk.
the first resolution that was in the agenda, and
Yeah, it just will be approved as amended, but I think, you know, we have the
Counselor, you
language.
got the words just
Yeah,
right.
we
You're
have the
taking
words.
good
The only
notes?
question I have was the and citizens, is that being removed?
That's and citizens being removed. I think that's right.
So I have the language. I know that, and I have it all as amended.
Perfect. So it's been moved, it's been seconded.
all prior motions are withdrawn.
No, I accepted as the amendments.
I accepted it. Second, I accepted it.
Ready to vote? All
Right.
those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Counselor, is there a way to get that typed at him to sign it today?
I'll sign it tomorrow.
Or tomorrow
Yeah,
morning?
I'll sign it tomorrow morning, we'll get it out.
Out of
Well,
courtesy
he's got
for
it,
them,
yeah.
because they meet on Tuesday, so.
Yeah, no,
Oh, it will go out.
they'll know about this now.
I know. But we want to
So-
have service.
So,
Okay.
all right, motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got it.